You don't need to believe the message. Just look at the math. Numbers don't have bias. They don't exaggerate. They just tally up the patterns. And those patterns tell a story. So before you move on to the next module, let's pause and take a hard look at the data behind drug use in the workplace. Because the problem, it's not hypothetical, it's measurable. One national survey asked frontline workers, have you ever used drugs or alcohol on the job? Or just before, 35% said yes. Now pause on that. Not 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5, 1 out of 3. And that's just the people who were willing to admit it. The same survey found that nearly 20% had used more than one substance, what we call polydrug use, specifically to cope with pain, fatigue, or stress. Look, we don't blame them. Some of these folks are working 12-hour shifts, handling physical strain or managing trauma from years of high-risk roles. But no matter how understandable the reason, the results are the same: impaired performance, missed cues, near misses. Over the past year alone, workplace incidents linked to impairment, directly or indirectly, have risen 22%. That's not a fluke, that's a trend. And here's where it gets real. Almost half of those who triggered safety investigations had no idea their medication could be impairing. That's not negligence, that's lack of awareness. That's where you come in. This training isn't about catching people, it's about seeing them clearly before things go wrong. Because behind every percentage point in a report is someone's partner, someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's story. So when you hear the numbers, don't just think data, think responsibility. Think about the one decision that could have changed the outcome. You might be the only person on the worksite trained to see what others miss. That matters more than you know. The reference material includes stats and a few reports worth a glance, especially if you want to bring this conversation back to your crew, your union, or your boardroom. And the quiz, non-negotiable. If the data doesn't scare you, that's fine, but the pattern should make you pay attention. This isn't about being right, it's about being ready. So let's connect the dots. You now know what a drug is. Not just a street substance, but anything that alters how the mind or body works. You've seen how drugs combine, how they stack up in the bloodstream, and how that cocktail can lead to confusion, overconfidence, and a disaster. You've walked through the 7 major drug categories. You've seen how each one leaves its own fingerprint, how impairment doesn't wear a label, but it does leave a pattern. And now, you've seen the numbers, not just stats, but signs of a growing risk, a risk hiding in plain sight. On the job sites, in a warehouse, behind the wheel. This isn't about judgment, it's about readiness. Because when you can recognize impairment, you don't just react, you lead, you protect, and you get ahead of it. And that's exactly what this training's about. Up next, Module 2, the Forensic Alcohol and Drug Evaluation Model.